Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the Portsmouth Basketball Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mark.
And I'm Paul, and we're back.
We are back, and we're back with someone else who's coming back.
Yes, the legend, the myth, the man, Stephen Ware.
Stephen of the Wares.
Thanks for having me back. I thought you were going to lock the doors when I left last time.
We should have done.
Well, we could have done, but we just thought we'd let you out, just so that we could say you've come back, because otherwise, well, we really wanted to say you've come back.
Yeah, guess who's back?
And
Kind of M&N style.
And since that, for a bit of information for Steve, after hitting that bonus shot,
that was huge.
We're actually going to call it the Stevie Ware. We've now called it the Stevie Ware bonus shot.
Yeah, we're going to have a leaderboard. I think we should have a leaderboard, and at the moment you're at the top of that leaderboard, Steve. So you're 1 from 3.
Well,
but what the listeners don't appreciate is after you went 1 for 3, our esteemed host Paul took a few shots. When I say a few, how many would you say that was, Steve?
I mean, I ran out of fingers and toes pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
and I ran out of your fingers and toes as well.
I'm a pressure player, so I do it under pressure.
Were you looking at my toes?
And your fingers.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been biting this one. Watch out.
But just before we guys clear something really important up, I was 1 for 2 because...
No, you're not having that.
Those windows, when I was in here last time, those windows were open. It was a really blowy day. And that first shot was
one of them is still open. You did have both open, that's understandable. But
so I'm 1 for 2. Let's agree on 1 for 2.
Really?
Yeah.
What? So hang on.
If this went to court, any self-respecting judge,
really, we're going for that. Really? So if you go in a game and you take a shot and you go, hang on, can I just have that as a practice? That's a gimme.
If someone opens the doors and a huge draft comes in,
hang on. Well, we got to ref it. What would happen?
What would happen?
This is a great way to jump in. What happens in a game if a lot of them in sports halls and they have the emergency doors quite often?
Yeah.
What happens if someone tried to sneak in? They open the door and a gust comes in. That would affect the ball.
If the ball goes in, the ball goes in. The ball doesn't go in, the ball doesn't go in. You can't say, ref, there's some wind. You've got to count that.
They did in the darts, didn't they?
Yeah. Why would you?
No.
Surely they'd say at least, right, you got to take it.
They might stop the game and shut the doors, but they're not going to cancel a shot or anything like that. No way.
Wow.
So
yeah, but
from a referee's perspective, you're 1 for 3.
Well, I think the league needs to learn from this podcast.
Flipping out. You're harsh.
Wow, we need to go to BE with this.
I think.
Let's go to BE.
That's your homework. You got to find out what happens in that. What happens if a bird that was nesting in the rafters flew down?
They're gonna whatever happens, they will count it. They're not gonna not count it.
Because what do they do? When the ball lands on they do the jump ball usually, don't they? When it used to sometimes would land somewhere and it would just.
It's on the back of the ring.
It's on the back of the ring, or
that's a jump ball.
Yeah, that's always jump ball, isn't it?
So you're saying if a bird happens to fly in and it hits the ball and it goes in, would they say
in a sacred place? Boston Garden, I'm sure, had quite a bit of animals. There's got to be animals in the rafters and things. They can't fumigate everywhere, and everything's endangered these days. So if bats started nesting in your sports hall, just saying they would. What happens?
Well, I know quite a few referees, so let's get one on and ask him.
What happens?
That can be question 1.
If someone from the crowd threw something on the game, not that I recommend this, I don't think anyone should do that. They obviously get ejected, but that play would get replayed again, wouldn't it?
No, that's a technical foul on the home team.
Is it?
I think it is, yeah.
Is it? We need a whole referee edition.
Well, yeah,
this podcast.
It definitely is, because there was
I'm definitely not condoning that, and I think that's scummy if anyone does that, by the way. But yeah,
there was an example recently in a college game, I think within the last year, where someone threw something and they didn't mean it, and it actually landed on the court, and it was like an extremely close game, like 1.2 point. Technical foul, the other team go up.
Wow.
And they get possession. So yeah.
So it's got to be a deliberate act, because I've seen plenty of people drop drinks and stuff.
No, it's a throw something on the court, and that's what this example was.
That's good though. It's going to really dissuade people from doing it.
Yeah, that was in a college basketball game in America.
I mean, the NBA game in America, that sort of ties in with that, because on the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, you could have free drinks in the area we were in. But in the fourth quarter, they wouldn't let you take drinks into the stadium because they're like, we don't want anything like that happening.
It's probably all tied in together. But look, let's. I know loads of refs. Let's get. I don't want to say names, but I'll try and we'll get some refs on it.
Some great questions.
I mean, we could just ask questions or
and they won't be bat related
the whole hour, won't we? So, well, this week, what are we talking about, Mark?
I'm just wondering now if someone had a guide dog and the guide dog ran on and got the ball. But I then was thinking, if someone had a guide dog, would they go to a basketball game?
No, because they'd be looking in the wrong direction, wouldn't they? Maybe.
And the guide dog would be too well behaved to misbehave. Guide dogs are perfect.
They are. Yeah.
They wouldn't run on court.
Right, we are so off topic, but this is a great way to
start.
start. Welcome to the podcast. If you haven't listened to any of the shows previously, go back and take a listen. We did one with Steve recently, and we were talking about the infamous Mickey Byrne from Portsmouth League and coaching. And today we thought we'd bring Steve back.
Yeah, to talk about the Portsmouth Fury. I mean, definitely from my perspective and local league, it's it's quite huge. And I know a lot of serious players have gone through the Fury, and some of the even National League players are training with the Fury at the moment. So, we just thought we'd have an episode where we talk about all the old classic funny stories that we've been talking about for the last couple of years, the ones that we're allowed to talk about, and see if anyone enjoys it. And also, Steve, I need to apologise because in our last podcast, I was going to play the Stevie Ware song at the end of the podcast.
I noticed.
And I completely forgot it.
I noticed.
So it is here waiting, and I will press play at any point.
Thank you.
Are you going to retake the shots today?
Hell no.
No?
There's no improving on that. 1 for 2 under that much pressure.
I like what you
First playing.
Sidestep that 1 for 3.
1 for 3.
1 for 2.
1 for 3.
Under intense pressure.
And have you noticed Mark's actually marked out
He's
the
marked
court
the court
now where
now,
everyone
yeah.
has to take their shots from?
That's official now.
I mean,
You're the benchmark.
we talked about that $1 million shot last podcast, didn't we? Similar pressure when you're in here.
I'm not giving anyone a pound. So what we have to do, we're going to have to get a trophy for this.
We're going to have to start
Yeah,
videoing these.
We are going to have to get a trophy for this.
It's got to be videoed.
What do we call it? What's the trophy for?
I got a few, but they're rude already.
The money shot?
Yeah, the money shot. The Portsmouth.
If someone gets it, if
Basketball
someone
money
gets
shot.
it first attempt, that's the money
That's
shot.
the money shot.
Surely.
Oh, I think if they hit the first ones, you just stop there.
Well, what's it
4-3.
called in the NBA All-Star game when they got the money ball? But they've got those other ones as well now, haven't they?
Oh, it's worth 4 points.
Yes.
Oh, like the luminous green ball.
Yeah, that bonus ball weird thing.
I don't know what that's called, but
Let's promote 3-pointers ball.
yeah. Well, we'll call it the money shot. So, Steve, Portsmouth Fury.
Yeah.
I mean, you must be proud of the Portsmouth Fury as co-founder in 1989, and the Fury's still going.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, it started at a dining room table in your mum's house at 1989, and we were sitting around and we thought, we want to create a team. We want to create a team and just have some fun. That was all it was. Let's just have some fun and play. And we were playing. I mean, we were playing a lot. We were obsessed with basketball. Like Andrew and I would build. Actually, we got this from Mick's son Alex. So when we went to see Mickey once at his house in Gosport, I think it was. And Alex said, "Come over and we'll play some." He said, "I've got a hoop, outdoor hoop." So we went over there, and Alex gets this thing out of the garage, and it's like a scaffolding pole. Not a scaffolding pole. A wooden scaffolding plank. And then he bolted a backboard to it, and he bolted a ring to it. We all carried it over to this local field. We rest it up against the side of this fence, tie it up with some rope, just play. And we're all hanging on this and dunking on this and shooting this. And Andy and I were like, wow, this is cool. So we came back, went down the local scrapyard, and we said, is there any spare scaffold planks? And the guy's like, yeah, they've all got a little bit of a split in them or whatever, but you can take one of them. So I remember trying to carry it back. It was just by Fratton Park, which is probably 20-minute walk from my house.
How old were you and Andrew then?
Probably 15.
Okay.
Yeah, fairly young. And we couldn't afford to hire courts and stuff. And there weren't really outdoor courts then, I don't think.
No.
If you look around there's a lot of outdoor courts now. There weren't really 35 years ago. So I can remember trying to cross like 2 main roads with this scaffold plank. Cars stopping, it's quite a big thing, like getting bibbed by cars and stuff. We got it back, and we got a wooden backboard, and we got a hoop from somewhere, and we used to put it up against the garages where your mum was living, tie it, open up, and just play. Much to the annoyance of the neighbours.
Yeah.
And of course, you named it.
We named it the Spectrum.
Yeah, Spectrum. It was written Spectrum on the way down on the board, wasn't it?
Because we couldn't agree. Because Andy was a Detroit fan, I was a Boston fan. I wanted to be the Garden, he wanted to be the Palace.
He had that Lane Beer poster. You walk into his room, that Lane Beer poster was on the wall there.
Yeah.
That friendly, cuddly,
but
well-behaved player.
Yes. The funniest story I remember about that hoop is, so we were kids, and I can understand it now as an older guy. We used to annoy the hell out of the neighbours. Bouncing balls every night. Bang, bang.
Entire summer holidays.
Yeah, like till 10 o'clock at night. The neighbours were like, geez, do you ever get... And so at a certain point we left, we used to rotate it around the different sort of garages. Like I remember dragging it round to another set of garages, and the woman opened the window at us and started screaming out and saying, I'm going to call the police, blah, 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 like that. Right? So this is what happened. This is how cunning Andy was. So we know there's a guy who used to live in our road called Mr. Clayton. James Clayton, I think his name was. Anyway. David Clayton. You're right. Good memory. Anyway, his dad was a policeman. So I can remember Andy saying, come with me. And I said, where are we going? He says, just got to do this. So we go up to knock Dave Clayton's house. I thought, he's asking Dave to come and play. Dave didn't play basketball. I thought, what's he asking? Anyway, we ring the doorbell. Dave answers. He says, hello, lads. He says, you all right? And he says, yeah, is your dad there? He says, yeah. He says, can you get him? Goes in, his dad's eating his dinner and watching TV. He's like, who is it? He says, Andrew and Steve. He's like, oh, for crud, what do they want? Anyway, he comes to the door. Andy says to him, Mr. Clayton, would you mind if we went and played basketball in the set of garages like 100 metres away? And he looks at us as if like, no. Like, what? You honestly disturb my dinner to ask me if you 2 random kids can go and play basketball in a set of garages I don't even care about. So he's like, that's fine, of course, I don't care what you do. Go and do whatever you want. Leave me alone. Shut the door. We walked off, we started playing. Woman opens the window again, screams out. She says, blah, 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 I'm going to call the police. And Andy says, actually, we've spoken to the police and they've given us permission to play here. Boom.
Well played.
And the window shut. No police turned up.
Wow.
And that's the birth of the Portsmouth Fury.
The birth of the Fury. So since then, we created a proper club, and it's just kind of hung around. Thanks largely to Andrew. I can't take much credit for this, if I'm honest. I was there at the start. I played a lot. It's Andrew's team. Maybe we'll get him on.
Yeah, hopefully
at some point. But he's really been the driving force behind it, and it's been a huge passion for him and all of us, just to be able to get everyone together, have a laugh, play, keep us out of mischief, keep fit, and just do something we love for years.
Well, you guys said you were in previous podcast. You mentioned originally you were called Force.
Yeah, we wanted Force. Yeah,
and then you went to Fury.
Yeah.
Do you have any other names in the pot before Fury came in?
Only ridiculous ones that Andrew would come up with.
I like the Portsmouth Pistons. Wow, PP.
PP
with the Portsmouth Pistons in there.
PP.
Probably.
I bet you had
can't have too many P's in it.
I bet you had the Portsmouth Celtics. Did you put that one forward?
I think I did, but I wanted us to play in green. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Green doesn't go with anything, man.
No. Well, you got a green microphone and a green cable.
Yeah, no, it doesn't suit anything. This is like acid green, though. That's, you can get away with that. The Celtics green. No.
The one thing you have to say about the Celtics, if they've got one of the best logos
Had.
in the NBA. What do you mean had?
Well, they don't use that. They don't wheel it out that much, do
Really?
they now?
Like the little leprechaun with his walking stick, and
Yeah, a little Yoda.
he was one of the reasons I just like following the Celtics. It's just an amazing logo.
Great logo, terrible mascot.
What is the mascot? Him.
The mascot's a guy called Lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I say terrible. That's not probably being a bit harsh, but he's just like a guy whose face you can see. Normal guy. He's quite athletic actually. He does like at half time he'll do the like tumbling on trampolines, where they come off trampolines and dunk it, that kind of stuff. He joins in with that. But if I think about something like the Orlando Magic mascot stuff,
Oh, you can't.
he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's like a show in itself. Like you'd pay a $10 ticket just to go in and watch him.
Yeah.
Falling down the stairs, winding the crowd up, doing stupid things, climbing up step ladders. I mean, this guy's we're talking about it for the Force as it evolves and grows, but mascots can be a huge part of the game and add so much.
I think he's actually based on the Phillies baseball mic.
Oh, I think you might be right, yeah.
Sorry, I said mic. I meant mascot. Like the
Yeah,
Phillies
yeah.
baseball mat, they're the same colour. He's got a pointed nose, and I think the same guy who created the Phillies mascot created stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because you had the... Oh, who's the gorilla? Because they...
Phoenix.
It's Phoenix, isn't it? And then there's the other one. There's like three of them. And it's they always sort of bring out whenever they're talking or they show the mascots. You always see stuff and you always see the gorilla.
Yeah.
And they tend to be some of the more acrobatic
Oh yeah, they're proper
ones.
Yeah.
And I think it was Andy actually showed me a picture of he said, "Who do you think this picture is?" And I was like, "Is that the guy who plays stuff?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You could even in his face, he's got a mask on and everything." He's like, "100% that's the guy."
Oh well.
It's just the weirdest thing. You think, "Oh yeah, that's stuff." And he said, "Yeah, he's like an acrobat and gymnast." And you go, "There we go."
Yeah.
Like falling 15 foot off or something in a big padded suit. You go, "What?" And then just gets back up and wanders off.
I think if anyone can get close to bringing what stuff brings to a game, then you're on a winning ticket, really.
Watch this space,
Well, we'll see. We are trying to get a mascot. It's very difficult to get it because it's like, where do you get it from? It's extremely expensive in the UK. And then in the States, it's one of those things when you get it abroad, what's going to turn up? Are you going to spend a lot of money and
It's hard.
a poor suit turns up kind of thing?
Got to get the fundamentals right first as well, right?
What about putting just toilet paper yourself? Stand at the top of the
And saying
stairs.
you're a mummy?
Yeah, exactly. You're the mummy. You're the undead. Come back to watch the game. And then I can push you down the stairs. You won't be able to do it more than once, but something for the crowd.
Well, I think we should put that on the back burner. Yeah. So Steve, Portsmouth Fury, favorite moments, classic stories.
Favorite moment? They're probably all on the away games, aren't they?
Yeah, I want to say everything's kind of based on the away games. That's
Yeah.
where all the fun happened, isn't it?
Football fans always say that, don't they? Football fans always go, the away trips are the best trips. I don't know. I suppose because you're travelling together. Because if it's a home game, you get there by yourself pretty much, don't you?
Yeah.
You played a game. You may go and do something after, but probably not. If it's a weeknight.
There's a bit of camaraderie.
You're
Going
together
100%.
more on an away game. You're in cars together, and then you're travelling together, and you probably get
It's
some
an event.
food on the way home. Yeah, it's a proper road trip, isn't it?
It is. I think you hit it. Camaraderie. It is, because one of the big problems I remember from playing was the numbers on an away game.
Yeah.
And that was always the challenge. It was like, how many cars we're going to go in? I always ended up driving.
Yes.
Sometimes I believe there may have been an incident or two where you may or may not have been in my car boot, Paul, just to get us to a
God, I
certain
can't
place to
remember
meet up.
For
But
legal purposes, that never happened.
that never happened, but it might have been just to pop around the corner perhaps. But just
We did have a lot, and we had at one point, I remember near the start in Solent League, we had a lot of spectators coming. I think we might have had 20 odd people with us once for an away game.
we've had people turn up, but it's interesting that when you go to the team and you think we're the only ones who are there. So on the bench we were noisier, and
Yeah, we were quite a noisy bench, weren't
yeah,
Yeah.
and we'd all be sort of cheering and egging each other on. So it was the camaraderie in it. And then, of course, afterwards, we'd go do the obligatory.
The McDonald's. Wow. I mean,
McDonald's.
we were talking about this the other day, and we were speculating that maybe the Portsmouth Fury has had an effect on McDonald's as a global corporation with their drive-through policy.
Yeah. Yep.
Can you remember that?
They used to have a walk-through policy, didn't they?
You're not allowed to do it anymore, are you? So just to put some context into this, we used to, on our way travels, there was always the same McDonald's that we stopped off at. We used to joke around with the staff. So we would go in, let's imagine, say 15 fairly tall guys. We'd go right in front of the tills, all get in a big huddle, put our hands in. 1, 2, 3, cheeseburgers. And and then turn around, cheeseburger, please. Cheeseburger, please. And they'd be like, what has just happened? And we were doing all these chants just before we asked for our food. And I remember the one week we got there and we were a little bit later and they were like, look, the drive-thru's open. You can't come in, because they knew it was like 20 guys coming in and just taking over the restaurant. But you can go through the drive-thru. And we were like, all right. So we walked through the drive-through, and there must have been over 20 of us, because this was the days where like Heavy D was turning up to watch, and
There was a lot of us there. There was a full squad and some others.
And the squad doubled again, people watching, I'd say. And everyone was lined up in this McDonald's drive-through. Actually, that's where we call it the famous Fury walk-through.
Yep.
And no word of a lie, by the time everyone got served, there was a queue of cars actually going out of McDonald's, going down a main road for, I don't know how far it was, but
yeah, I mean, I guess
they should have just let us in.
I guess the framing on that is we individually ordered. It wasn't 15 people and we're going, we're going to get a group order.
Yeah.
It was we each individually went window to window. And it's their fault, really. They literally could have just let us in, but they decided they wanted to shut it early.
Do you think, Steve, that McDonald's took that example and then that they changed their walk-through policy?
Without question.
Globally?
Without question.
Yeah, that's what
I can imagine it being discussed in board meetings.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you think in those board meetings they would have mentioned the words Portsmouth Fury?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Why wouldn't you?
I
Set
mean,
the standard.
When we start talking about playing days as well, I know the one we always talk about is Simon Foote, his shot. I mean, do you want to run through that one?
So that was a away game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was away Salisbury or something like that. Weymouth, it was Hive.
Somewhere out the west.
That way.
I can remember someone counting down the time. Like someone on our team shouting out 5, 4.
But the away team had the ball.
The away
didn't
team
they?
had the ball, and someone shouting the clock running down. So they sort of panicked and launched something
From the halfway line, wasn't it? Yeah.
a long way back. Yeah, it was an air ball, fell short. So Simon, I think, pretty much in one motion, didn't he? Just catch it and
Yeah, well, I was just to his left on the court, and he actually caught it behind the backboard as he pulled it back.
Oh, yeah.
He caught it behind the backboard.
and then kind of swung like a discus thrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It was that
Just
just
sort of half spin.
from the hip.
He launched it up.
Like a softball kind of one, and they ring it up and
Yeah. But the twist on the story is
It-
how much time was left on the clock?
Oh yeah, it was like 2 minutes.
Yeah. In the third or something.
But it was backboard. It was backboarding in, wasn't it?
Was it? I remember it as a swish, but maybe
okay.
that's my distorted memory.
But yeah, I remember them then getting the ball and running, maybe to the halfway line, and launching up another shot, and then someone catching it. And that's when I work out why Andrew's going nuts as coach. She's like, "Still 2 minutes left,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "Why are we shooting buzz beaters?"
It's like you see the clips on Instagram where everyone's just starts shooting in the wrong net and the entire court is completely confused.
I think it was in the same season where one of our guys was at the free throw line. He shot his second shot, and one of the opponents caught the ball, just naturally went up, scored, and then as soon as it went in, he was like, damn, what did I just do? I high-fived him and went, cheers, mate.
Yeah, because that counts.
Yeah, it's not a good day, is it? Thing is, though, all those home games that we played as well, although you didn't have the road trip element, you still had the camaraderie often of, are we going to go somewhere afterwards, or we can do anything afterwards? But most home games were at PGS.
Yeah, and we started quite late.
Yeah.
We started 8:45 or something, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, half eight
Yeah,
maybe.
By the time we finished,
Only
Mickey Byrne would be upstairs having his curry delivered to the bar
yeah.
and having his post-match drink,
Yeah.
and we'd have a chat to him and go, really.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, that was the downside. But then I think the nice thing about the Fury in particular was at practices there was a social side to that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about like Andy's hour and a half speech after.
Oh, more
practice.
so like 10, 20 years ago, definitely. Like we were going out like regularly all together as a team.
Yeah.
That was the thing, though. It was a social club, and we touched on this on the last podcast, didn't we? Is your club just out to win at all costs, or is it more inclusive, more about having fun playing and being with your mates? And
Yeah. And the Fury is kind of a very thin line with that. So I think we try to win,
of course,
try to give everyone time, but at the same time, like for example, when we played the two cup games or the playoff final a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, literally in the start I was like, guys, we're playing to win. Like, forget court time. If you come on, you're performing, you're staying on. If you're having a bad day, forget it. We're playing to win. And you know what? I think as a player, if you get told where you stand, well, you know where you stand. Like if I'm not playing well, I'm not going to get charity minutes, isn't it?
I mean, that touches on what we were speaking about previously with Mick saying, perform, you perform.
Yeah.
If you're not, you're touching the pine. But, all of the teams have had lots of players. I think Fury is one of those teams that's had quite a consistent stream of players.
A lot of international players as well. Loads of internationals.
I think there was a big portion where you had quite a few of the Greek players.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were hilarious because they were obviously speaking Greek to each other, and they were telling me that their language was very colourful, and we learnt a few words, and we now know what they're saying in the games.
Oh yeah.
And that was great fun.
And obviously it's such a massive sport in Greece that sometimes people forget when you look at something like basketball and you think, oh, it's an American game. You go, yeah, but in Greece it's, I think, the national sport.
Lithuania's number one sport.
Oh,
We've had a lot of
Lithuania's
Lithuanian
A lot of
players.
Eastern Europe.
And you always, I want to say people forget, but they sometimes compartmentalise it and just don't think of it that way. Whereas the Fury have had quite a lot of international players.
Yeah. Good German players.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're all thinking of different countries now.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, I'm just thinking, you can take quite a few. Not many American players, actually.
More so recently, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy could talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we can all hope Andrew will come on here and we can hear all the stories, he's got. You know what? I just thought of one, and he can verify this if he comes on. But I remember on one of those away trips being in McDonald's.
Yeah.
On the way back, and do you know what I'm going to say?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
And Andrew went in a cubicle and was just going to go to the toilet, and he put his mobile phone and some change on the where the
cistern.
Cistern.
Yeah.
Cistern.
The toilet thing, yeah.
And
because he had to use a disabled lid, didn't he? I think for some reason.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was probably.
I think they'd cleaned it or something.
He probably viewed it the cleanest, yeah.
But the legend, the one and only known as Mickey Byrne, phoned him, and his phone vibrated so much that everything flew in the toilet.
Pound coins in
I remember seeing it going, What
That was the only money he had for a McFlurry as well.
and this is where we need to ask him the question. He did buy a McFlurry.
Somehow.
Yeah, that was
Where
it.
that money came from, we
Somehow.
don't know.
We don't
but
know.
we all
Nobody
left him
knows.
to it in there, and he
Nobody
came out
knows.
and he had money. So
Yeah. And then we were singing "The Hand Is in the Pan."
yeah, hand is in the pan.
Yeah, he did not appreciate that.
But I mean, that hand
How
in the
that
pan little song that
Money
we came up with.
teleported from in that water up to his hand and became dry.
Maybe he had some more change and we didn't know about it.
Must have done. Must have done.
No,
But
Got
I
to be a
remember,
logical explanation.
I remember
He's
him
not legally
cursing
too bad,
Mick a little bit. He was like, "Mick, bloody phoning me. And my money's falling in the toilet."
We had some good time. We played in some strange places. I remember playing in a prison, Paul.
Yeah, that was Kingston Prison. I was quite young. I was really young.
Kingston. Just to tell everybody, this is in Kingston Prison in Portsmouth rather than
not Kingston, London.
not Kingston.
But yeah, that was 90s time.
You know, I remember I was
97, 98.
quite young, and I remember going in there. I don't think I played much, but I remember feeling really, really intimidated.
I was on the bench, 100%.
Really intimidated.
Well, we got a few catcalls as we walked in. Do you remember? So we walked in, and there was
Yeah.
this kind of courtyard that was surrounded by
Like the cells,
cells,
wasn't
I
it?
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they
And
are.
people could look
Yeah.
out, and there were a lot of people shouting,
And
"Kill him, Kingston!"
Yeah, and the team name was
Killers.
yeah.
Kingston Killers. And I think, I
Nice.
mean, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but
Warm
my
and fuzzy.
understanding is if you go there, you're a lifer at that time.
I can remember a guy coming in right at the start, so coming into our change room. He said, first thing he said was, "I'm going to lock you in here.
yes.
In the change rooms,
Not
yeah.
to lock
you
us
did.
in.
I'm going to
Yeah.
lock you guys in because I don't want anyone coming in and anything happening." And everyone, we're like, okay. So he said, I'll give you 10 minutes to get changed. I'm going to lock it and then I'll be back. And then he came back and he's like, right, the rules are don't ask anyone why they're in here. That's number one. Don't ask anybody why they're in here. If they start talking to you, okay. Don't start asking a question about why they're in here. Just come in, shake their hand, play the game. I can remember us thinking, what do? Do we just like let them win? We just want to get out of here alive is what I was thinking. I just want to get out of here in one piece.
Look, I was a defensive player. I'm not an offensive player. All I did was ruffle some feathers, maybe take a charge or second a couple of hard picks. I did not want to go in there because it's like, that's what my game is based on and they're going to kill me.
Yeah, it was very intimidating.
Luckily, though, we didn't have to worry about any of that because Will came along. And Will brought his own cheerleaders, apparently. Because didn't realise that apparently in a prison, it wasn't appropriate to bring a couple of females with miniskirts.
My understanding is he came straight from a club.
Yeah?
So he turned up from a club with two girls, very short skirts.
Yeah. Mumbling
and,
dresses.
and they walked in, and we got to the very front gates of Kingston, and I remember the prison officers there just saying, if they come in, there will be a riot. You can't come in. You can't bring those girls in. There will be a riot.
Yeah. Do you remember the guy scoring as well? So we played out, it was outside, wasn't it? It was an outside court.
Yes.
And one of their people, I think it was probably one of their players actually, so one of the inmates was keeping the score. And we were winning, I think, at half time. It was relatively close. We were beating them. And then we changed ends half time. And the guy who was putting the score up just didn't change.
He was putting our scores
He was
on
putting-
theirs now.
exactly, he was putting our scores on it. So I was thinking, are we going to tell him this? Or are we just going to let him? And no one told him.
Yeah, it
And
was
I
the wrong
think
way
they-
around.
I think they didn't they end up beating us?
I think they won by like 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
It's very close.
And we were like, well done, guys.
They weren't,
gotta go.
they to play, from, and just seeing the people, they weren't nasty or anything.
No, they were a bit rough around the edges in the sense they weren't sophisticated players, if you know what I mean. They were quite rough and ready, a bit clumsy, a bit.
I guess they weren't playing very often with other people, to be fair.
No.
But, there's, I want to say nicely, segues into some of the more colourful games that the Fury have had. So teams like, I don't know, Millbrook, for example. And
Oh, I mean,
some of the
Millbrook
other
in the
ones.
days we used to, I mean, it was like, get ready. We kind of went into there. Yeah, I would say the Kingston prison was probably the most intimidating. And to go from Kingston to Millbrook, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
No,
with
that's-
Millbrook and Southampton, it really was turn up, get ready for a fight almost.
But
in
it
a
was
sense,
the
wasn't it?
Portsmouth-Southampton rivalry, wasn't
Yeah,
it? It was that
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Which was strange because you don't tend to get it National League.
Really?
But no, not a huge, like you can sit next to, but the Millbrook days felt like you were going in a lion's den
Yeah.
almost. You know, there would be fans who were very vocal. Even Southampton University, it was quite similar.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
could be quite nasty, the crowds at uni
yeah,
teams as well.
because
couldn't
they were all drinking and they'd bring their drinks in.
That was Southampton where they had the bleacher at the top, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
one where it's that's the one I didn't like because they'd be up at the top there, and all you'd hear is you just hear
Yeah.
the abuse coming down, but you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I can't really see who it is who's
Yeah,
slagging me off up there, but you knew it was up there somewhere,
And-
and they just turn up when they liked and shot off when they liked, sort of thing. It's
yeah.
it's nice when you get to at least meet your accuser on face to face rather than
was-
hear
it
someone
was
just hurling
intense,
abuse from a
wasn't it?
distance. Yeah,
And you know what? I don't know why this just popped in my head, but there was a player who played for Southampton University, and he must have been around the area as well because he was playing for them for like 6-7 years. So he must have gone to university there, stayed there, and just carried on playing for them. And like literally every game, we hated each other. Like as players, we hated each other, and every game. I mean, I remember throwing a ball at the back of his head once
Wow.
in a game.
But-
We just generally
It's
hated
like
each
Larry
other.
Bird, Bill Lambert.
It was like that. It was 100% like that. It was going to end with both of us being chucked out of game. One
You
of us being chucked out of
both
game.
woke up and chose violence that day.
is this someone else on the team or your brother?
No, this is another player in Southampton. And do you know what he said to me? And we had an away game in Southampton, and we did the usual before the game, go up and shake their hands. And he shook my hand, put his arms around me, and gave me a cuddle. And he said, "I'm leaving the Southampton area. I've absolutely loved playing against you, and I'm always going to remember playing against you, and I've really enjoyed the rivalry."
Wow.
And it was bizarre because it just my mindset just went, what? And that last game was the nicest game we were to each other. It was like, yeah, nice shot, good. It was an absolute bizarre moment. I always remember. I don't know his name, but
That's
bizarre,
interesting,
isn't
isn't it? I was watching a thing on Netflix
Mystery
about
caller.
quarterbacks, NFL quarterbacks. I don't watch NFL, but this kind of piqued my interest. And there's a guy called Patrick Mahomes, I think. Is he the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback? And one of the things he said, which I thought was interesting, he said he's super friendly to his opponents.
Oh yeah.
So he'll go up to the opposing quarterback and say, "Great player, you guys are great today," whether they win or lose. And he's super friendly to everybody because he says, see what you think of this, Paul, Ben, on what you just said. He says if he's nice to people, it just takes off a little bit of their competitive edge. So sometimes a lot of people to perform at a high level, they want a lot of champions, a lot of people, they thrive off abuse from the other team, or if somebody says something about beating this team, they'll pin it up in the dressing room and say, "Listen, this is what these guys have said. They're gonna beat us. They're gonna hammer us into the ground. They're gonna do this. We ain't having that. We're gonna go out and beat them." And it kind of gets that male drive, that macho thing going. Whereas if you actually like the guy in the locker room, the opposing locker room, how much of that
Yeah, it's harder.
fierce?
There's a great thing on that from Kevin Garnett, and I think he was talking about come on, it's Tim Duncan, and he said he could not rile Tim Duncan, and obviously Kevin Garnett was super hyperactive and he loved trash talking and getting. He said whatever he did, he hated playing Tim Duncan because Tim Duncan would just be like, and he just would never rise to it, never take the bait. He said it used to get under his skin because he would not. It didn't matter what he threw at him or abuse or anything. He's like, he just rolls off him because he was like, don't worry about it.
I can remember seeing another thing on Netflix about Usain Bolt.
Oh,
There's a
really?
great documentary on there, and he says he was beating everyone, so he'd won every race in every competition. He'd won the Olympic golds and the worlds and he was the greatest sprinter of all time. And he said, it's hard when you're a top level athlete and you've got to not party as much as you want, not eat the foods that you love sometimes, blah, 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 not ever have a drink. And he said, once you've won everything, it's hard to stay as hungry and to want it as much. But he said the things that kept him going were the Americans would trash talk. And I forget the name there was one sprinter, I forget his name in particular, who...
There was Tyson Gay, was one of the
Gay was
around that time.
Yeah, and there was another guy, I can't remember, maybe we can find it. And he got done for drugs, I think, and then came back and was allowed to compete again. Anyway, he was basically to try and throw Bolt off his game. They were trash talking in the press and saying, he should never have qualified for this games. I think there's one Olympics that the Jamaicans sent him to where he didn't sort of officially qualify, but he had a bad injury. And so Jamaican rules say, we're going to send you because we know you're our best sprinter. We're going to send you and you're going to get recovered and you're going to be... But in America, I think they have sort of brutal trials before the Olympics, and whoever wins those trials goes. So you could be the greatest sprinter in history, but if you don't finish in those trials high enough, they don't send you to the Olympics. So they were moaning, the Yanks, saying, if he was in America, he never would have been even sent to these Olympics and all this kind of stuff. And Bolt said, I love this. Like he said, that is all I need. I'm going to train harder. I'm going to beat you now. I'm going to show you that I absolutely deserve to be at this Olympics. And he said that anger, that winding him up is the worst thing you can do. So Mahomes is the complete opposite of that, because Mahomes says, I'm not going to wind anybody up. I'm going to be such a nice guy. You're not going to have any fuel to hate me.
I mean, that sounds like a psychological study
Yeah,
there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I absolutely love
Sports
that.
psychology is huge, isn't it? You could do a whole podcast.
I think Michael Jordan did something similar to Charles Barkley, where he bought him a really expensive watch before the playoffs against Phoenix.
Yeah.
And someone said, why have you just bought Charles Barkley $100,000 watch? And he went, if he likes me, he's not going to be dear me up just as hard. He's going to ease off a little bit.
Yeah.
And they were playing golf, weren't they? During one of them, they played a game of golf during one of the playoffs or something. Everyone's like, "How's that work?" It's like,
But I think the leagues got friendlier, right? Whether it's our local leagues
or
NBA leagues. I mean,
Yeah.
when we were playing in the 80s and 90s, you look back in the NBA, the 80s, the Bad Boy Pistons, these kind of people. Proper fights. Anyone who's young listening to this, go and look up clips of
the bad
Celtics
boys
and Lakers playing each other. People getting close. People
just type
Kurt
Ron
Rambis,
Artest.
or Kurt Rambis getting clotheslined at the forum. And
It's the day when you could punch someone in the face and it was a foul.
just a foul, yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
could literally knock someone to the ground and chuck the ball at them, and it's like, that's a personal foul.
Yeah.
And like Shaq even had his own hacker Shaq because he was such a dominant force. All the refs had an agreement, like he's always going to get a physical or a contact because he's so massive, and they just sort of like eased off him, so he never got fouls called against him half the time. And you think it's a bit harsh, but I mean they've gone the other way in the NBA now, and we're talking about how much better in the local leagues the game is. It's probably a lot to do with the refereeing's getting better and people are getting involved. Look at places like the NBA, the refereeing's got worse. So.
Controversial.
Very controversial.
No, I think it's terrible. Some of the reffing at the moment in the NBA, just borderline. You think, why am I watching this? Pointless.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I think traveling's a classic one. You see someone do 7 steps,
That's a
and
big one, yeah.
you think, what?
I mean, it's
I
not many
wouldn't say the
players, only
refereeing
James
is
Harden and
bad.
everyone else.
I think the level of competitiveness is so fine that if a referee makes one bad call, it could explode into that ref is terrible. Yeah, I mean, he has had a bad call, but I mean, the one that just came into my mind there was Bill Lane Beer, and he did that when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did a hook shot, and he jumped up, and there was no contact whatsoever. Referee called it, and they were like, he called it because of the 50 times he did foul him before.
Yeah.
But potentially that robbed the Pistons of a championship title.
Has the Fury ever been robbed of anything?
Oh, loads of times, haven't we? Loads of
Yeah.
times. I remember us being up by 2 points one game in Bournemouth, and for some reason they didn't have a scoreboard, so the guy on the table had a mobile phone. So the only person who could see the score, like the time left, was him. So we're up by 2. I think we've just scored, gone up by 2. The ref, for whatever reason, turns around and says, right, how long's left on the clock? And he says, 1 second.
There was a timeout, I think, wasn't there?
Was it?
There was a timeout, so we were like, okay, how long's left? Because you're right, nobody could see the clock.
So he remembers what I'm talking about straight away.
And it was 1 second.
I think it was he might have said 1.2 seconds. Anyway, this was before the days where if you called a timeout, you now advance to the front court. This was a day where you stay in the back court. So he got the ball. They dribbled down the entirety of the court. I think they made one pass, shot it, it was blocked. He got the rebound and then shot it and it went in.
In a second.
In that 1.2 seconds. And
fast player.
3-point play counted. We lost by 1. And we're like, there's no way like you've done that. And they were like, no, I have to go by what the timekeeper says. Done. Game over. We lost. That felt like a robin, that one.
Oh, it totally was. Yeah.
I think there are other games as well where maybe I'd say we got unlucky. I mean, I know the one that gets brought up quite a lot is that quarter final against the Portsmouth Tres team.
Semi-final, wasn't it?
Sorry, semi-final. Yeah, it was a semi-final. You weren't playing. Where were you?
No, it was my 40th birthday. I was in a posh restaurant having dinner.
Slumped in a gutter.
Someone said, Andy said to me, so send me on this day, can you make it? I was like, oh man. So I can't, it's like my 40th, we're going to restaurant 27, the nicest. And I said, you beat him anyway. I'll see you in the final.
And you know what? Everything went wrong. I remember.
Why did you say that out loud?
I was confident.
You put a hex on it.
We could have beaten them. We should have beaten them. And I remember one of our really good forwards. He walked in, and he was crying. It's like Joe, what's up? And he's like, my girlfriend just dumped me in the car outside. It's like, oh right. So my warm up, I didn't have a single shot in the warm up. Neither did Joe, and I was like consoling him after his breakup. So I went into both of us went in starting 5. I hadn't taken a single shot, but the reason everyone always remembers this game is because we were up by 7 and there was about 20 seconds left. So we were all like, right, this is in the bag. They'd just scored. We're up by 7. And we had a guy called, I can't remember his surname, but it's Rokas, Lithuanian player.
Seskavekius.
He was a very good 3-point shooter. So I think he plays for Portsmouth Jam now.
Yeah.
And he had come back and he inbounded the ball to them and they shot a 3, bam, went in. He inbounded the ball again. They got the ball of us from his inbound, 3, bam. And same again. Third, Rokas gets the ball, steal. We're down by 2.
I'm throwing it out there.
Throw it out there.
You done it one time. Dude, you made a mistake. What are you doing? That's
3 times.
That's a shocker. Second time round, dude, you're sitting on the bench and someone else please inbound that ball. Why is he doing it a third time?
Yeah, it was 3 steals and 3 threes and they were up by 2 points. And at that point, we called a timeout and there was...
Good idea.
I'd have subbed myself off.
Done it after the first one. But we then... 10 seconds were left. In fairness to Tres at that point, I think they just played exceptional defense for those 10 seconds and we put up a really poor shot. Though the shot we did put up was on an 11-foot ring because they've got one ring that's 10 foot, one ring that's 11 foot. So
to be fair, they still had to hit some big threes as well.
But you know what? I don't know if you know this, but there was because in those days we were sponsored by Nando's, and the Nando's mascot is a massive chicken. The chicken was outside. Do you know this?
No.
The chicken was outside with a couple of guys from Nando's ready to open the door, and the chicken was going to run in like, yeah, we're in the final, and run on the court. And we lost, and the guy goes, is the chicken coming in? No. We just lost by 2 points. No.
Send the chicken to the oven.
The chicken got sent back to the
chicken
change
go
room.
to the oven.
But you're just sitting there in a change room with this guy in a chicken outfit going,
oh
It could have been so much better.
Like a David Brent.
Wow. That wasn't Timmy in the costume, was it?
It definitely wasn't.
He'd have loved that.
I can remember Andy telling me about this game. And he said to me, I don't think I slept a wink that night. He said, I was so sure we were in the final.
I mean, 2 inbounds getting stolen.
Should never happen.
That's
criminal.
Yeah, I mean, you do have
Unless
those
the
games
opposite
where you
team has
think
got
about.
Tracy McGrady. You seen that clip?
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyone watching Google Team Matt? How many points did he score? Like 9 points in.
No, I think it was 13 points
13,
in 20-something seconds.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? I think he's playing for the Rockets, isn't he?
Yeah, Rockets versus Spurs,
Yeah.
from what I remember.
And he hits some tough shots there, some big threes, because they're in his face. It wasn't like it was NBA defense. That's the most incredible short clip of basketball you could watch.
Yeah.
So that ends this episode of the Portsmouth Basketball Podcast. Part 2 of this interview will be coming out in 24 hours, so tune in for that one. But until then, wherever you are and whenever you're listening, we thank you so much for your support. Till then, bye-bye.